Good afternoon, everyone. The meeting for the Assembly Committee on Growth and Infrastructure will now come to order. Will the committee secretary please call the roll?
Assemblywoman Brown May. Assemblyman Ellison. Assemblyman Levitt. Assemblyman Miller. Assemblywoman Peters. Assemblyman Roberts. Assemblywoman Summers Armstrong. Assemblyman Watts. Assemblyman Wheeler. Assemblyman Yeager. Chairman Ro Moreno.
And I am here. Will you please mark Assemblyman Ellison as absent excused? And I'd like to welcome everyone to today's meeting. This is our second in-person meeting, and today we will have 3 bill hearings. For all of our callers who are calling in online, you will be limited to 2 minutes, but we encourage you to submit your testimony in writing, which will be included with today's testimony. And as I said, we have returned to in-person committee room meetings. However, the seating is very limited. And it is my request to anyone wishing to join us in person that you sign up and register on Nellis at least 24 hours in advance, just as you would do if you had anything to submit, any documents for our committee. And we do have limited seating, but I know that sometimes we have friends or family in the building. If we could also have those members register as well. Although our meetings are in person, we still have people who will be joining us virtually, and I welcome you all here to the meeting. Members will have their laptops open. Please don't think they are not paying attention. They are following along. It's something that we learn to do to multitask in this virtual nature. Today, we will be taking our bills out of order, and today, the first bill that we will start with will be Senate Bill 66. Our presenters will be joining us both virtually and in person. So I would like to invite Mr. Brad Keaton to the desk. Welcome to Assembly Growth and Infrastructure.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the Assembly Committee on Growth and Infrastructure. My name is Brad Keating, Director of Government Relations for the Clark County School District. I am excited to be with all of you in this room and able to see your smiling faces through those masks. Along with me today via Zoom virtually is Leonardo Benavides from the Clark County School District, as well as Brian Mitchell, the Director of the Governor's Office of Science, Innovation, and Technology, or what we will consider OSIT for the rest of this presentation. We're excited to speak with you about Senate Bill 66. We're extremely grateful to OSIT and the Governor's Office for taking such an active role in assisting the Clark County School District on this bill and making it something that we can all be proud of. So Senate Bill 66 is important to the Clark County School District for a number of reasons. As we're all aware, the COVID-19 pandemic has showcased the need to create a more comprehensive system to improve internet access for all students. This bill will help shine a spotlight on the inequities facing families throughout the state and help us to ensure that every Nevadan receives the highest quality education. This bill requires the Governor's Office of Science, Innovation, and Technology to compile information on student home internet access and make recommendations for improving home connectivity. In collaboration with school districts across the state, this information will become incredibly valuable to all of us. Finally, this bill helps us quantify the challenges that we currently face and have faced over the last year, which will in turn make the solution much more concrete and verifiable. By having this information, OSIT will be able to truly craft a plan for the state to address this digital divide. I'd now like to turn it over to Mr. Brian Mitchell, the Director of the Office of Science, Innovation, and Technology.
Thanks, Brad. Good afternoon, members of the Assembly Committee on Growth and Infrastructure. I'm Brian Mitchell, Director of the Governor's Office of Science, Innovation, and Technology, or OSIT. I will briefly provide some additional context on this bill from OSIT's perspective. To us, this bill is an equity-focused bill The COVID-19 pandemic has forever changed the way education it happens throughout our state and throughout the nation. And in order to better serve our students, it's very important that we know who has access to the internet in their home and who doesn't, and also who is in need of a device in order to connect to the internet. So as Brad mentioned, OSIT, if should this bill be passed and enacted, OSIT would do two things, and in between those two things would be a role for the for districts and charter schools in the state. First, OSIT will prepare a survey that would ascertain to what extent students in the districts and in the charter schools have access to the internet. Then school districts would provide that survey out to their families and return the report back to OSIT. And then we will, at OSIT, we will prepare a report that has a gap analysis and will be able to provide that information in even years to the interim legislative committees and in odd years to the full legislative standing bodies, the standing committees, as well as the governor. In addition to that, OSIT will develop non-binding recommendations for devices that students might procure in order, or for districts that they, in order to ensure that districts are procuring devices that meet these highest standards of connectivity. Finally, OSIT will also prepare a funding recommendation or a plan for districts, or for the in order to meet the needs that districts have to connect students. And then now I will turn the microphone over to Leonardo Benavides from the school district to walk you through the different steps in the bill.
And this is Brad Keating. I'm going to take it over since Mr. Benavides is testifying in another committee. So just so you know, as Mr. Mitchell discussed, I think this is an incredibly important bill, as not only as 2020 has fundamentally shifted the way we look at education, but one of the benefits to this bill, as you see in the last bullet in front of you, is that the American Rescue Plan just allocated $7.1 billion to schools and libraries to connect low-income students to their internet from their house. So us getting ahead of this bill and being able to pass this legislation so that we have the information in front of us will only fast track us in the process to receive these federal dollars moving forward. Just a quick walkthrough of the bill. Section 3, subsection 1A, it outlines the statewide system of gathering data on digital access, authorizes the Governor's Office of Science, Innovation, and Technology to carry out this program. And then section 3, sub 1B, allows for any FERPA-compliant information to be shared with broadband providers and public entities to assist those in need of internet access. This was an issue when we first entered into the pandemic, being able to get information quickly to the providers so that we could connect our students. This portion of the law helps us in order to move that in a much quicker manner. Next portion, section 3, sub 1, creates minimum non-binding recommendations, as Brian said, for district devices. It's not going to focus necessarily on screen size, but it will pay particular attention to Wi-Fi capability to help ensure districts have accessibility to as many networks that are out there. Next section, OSIT will compile all that data to create the gap analysis that was spoken about, showing the number of students who are lacking connectivity in our devices. Then a fiscal plan will be developed to close the gap and determine how to best leverage any programs that provide relief. And then finally, we not only, the bill states that OSIT will consult with a wide variety of individuals, providers, federal offices, and organizations to make sure that all of the devices work on as many capabilities of network as possible. K-12 school districts, charter schools, as has been said, will be required each year to report to OSIT the number of students with or without access to devices. We plan to do this through the student registration process. So as parents identify and register their students, they will be asked if they have internet at the home, and then do they have a device for their student as well. And then a report will be provided, as Brian said, to the interim committees as well as the full body of the legislature. So in closing, as we have seen, the landscape of education has certainly fundamentally shifted how and where our students are receiving instruction. Even as we return to face-to-face instruction, there will forever be a subset of students who will prefer distance education. We see that now. The state needs to develop tools to adapt for the future as technology is rapidly evolving. And after all, today's broadband connection certainly could be tomorrow's dial-up. Madam Chair, we're now happy to answer any questions you or the committee have related to Senate Bill 66, and thank you for the time.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I know we do have a few questions. I'll start with Assemblyman Levitt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Mr. Keating, for bringing this forward. So during this previous school year, prior to the school year starting, knowing that we weren't going to open up, my children received Chromebooks. And I believe when they did receive them, they were asked what their internet capability was prior to receiving those Chromebooks. I think we had to fill out a questionnaire. So I guess my question is this just building upon a current process that you guys had to implement initially? And what were the best practices, maybe challenges that you saw when you were going through this process in this past school year that can give you comfort in knowing that this bill will help you along the way when you're trying to implement it in upcoming years?
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you to Assemblyman Levitt. Brad Keating for the record, representing Clark County School District. I think if anything, what we have seen over the last year is I don't know of many school districts across the country that were prepared to flip the switch like we were forced to do due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We provided, as a Clark County School District, we connected approximately 19,000 students to the internet over the last year, and we deployed over 247,000 devices in Clark County School District alone. It was a large task. It was difficult to do. We didn't have enough devices to start with when we began this process. So I think what we have seen, and we've built on this process as we've gone forward, right, and asking that very question online, or when somebody checks out a Chromebook, that they were able to fill out a form and tell us that they had internet at the house. What this bill will do is it will make sure that we know every single year moving forward in the state of Nevada how many students don't have access to the internet and how many are lacking a device. Not having, over the past year, unfortunately, school districts were put into a place where we went and bought as many Chromebooks and devices as we possibly could because there were only so many out there. This will give us the data in front of us to make a data-informed decision to replenish our product when we need to, and to make sure all of our students have internet access. So I think what this bill does is it truly helps inform the decision-making process for all school districts so that as we move forward with budgeting processes, that we're able to keep a line item there to continue replenishing our products or helping students get connected to the internet.
Thank you for that, Mr. Keating. So initially, was there a criteria on which children received the Chromebooks and who was put maybe on a waiting list as you were waiting for more to come in? And will this process also have a criteria attached to it to help identify those that are maybe more in need versus those that can be a little more self-sustaining?
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Assemblyman Levitt. Brad Keating for the record. When we first started this process a year ago, March 20th of last year, the process that we only had so many Chromebooks and iPads to go out, so we had to determine the areas that they needed to be put out in, and what grade levels first. So we started with high school students as they are the closest to graduating, and we wanted to make sure that they were able to. We started with credit students that needed to retrieve credits. So we started in that process, and we worked our way down to elementary school students. What we're in the position to do now is we have so many devices at all the school districts across the state. What this allows us to do is focus immediately and not have a waiting line not have a waiting process, that we will be able to get that information through the survey and then get the device and the internet to the student, hopefully right when school begins. So there's no lack of instructional time.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're so welcome. Next up, we'll have Assemblywoman Peters, and Mr. King, please know you can go directly to the member.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have two questions. The first is related to the questionnaire you're talking about having parents respond to, and how in-depth you may think you will go to assess that digital connectivity, right? Is it just, are you connected to the internet, or is it, are you connected to the internet, and what is your bandwidth? Are you in a neighborhood that is wired in, or are you in a hotspot neighborhood? Those kinds of questions. And then access related, device related, are you asking them if they just have a device in the family, or if they have a device the student has access to? And if you're asking about how modern that device is and the server or the software on the devices, because I think all of those are really important to actual accessibility through technology. And then my second question is just a clarifying question for Mr. Mitchell. Did you say that OSIT would offer a funding plan for the districts to address the needs?
And Brad Keating, for the record, Clark County School District. I will defer both questions to Mr. Mitchell, as he will develop the questionnaire that's also going to be given out.
Brian Mitchell, for the record. Thank you for the question, Assemblywoman Peters. I'll take the first question first, and I think you're right on the you're right on the mark there, where simply asking very general questions, do you have connectivity and do you have a device, will not get us the type of answers that we need in order to ascertain true connectivity. We haven't developed the survey yet. Or the questions yet, but we'll do that in very close partnership with all 17 school districts and the State Public Charter School Authority to make sure that the questions are asked straddle the line between not being too technical or overly burdensome for families, but also getting us the answers we need in terms of whether the device that's in the home, or if there is connectivity in the home, whether that's sufficient to facilitate distance learning. With regard to the second question, regarding the gap analysis, what we plan to do at OSID is, once we get the information back from the school districts, we will compile a report that has two pieces of information for you. First, it'll have a broken down, disaggregated total of students by school district who lack either connectivity or a device. And then we'll also, based on our work in consultation with the school districts, we'll also have a plan presented to you and to the governor regarding some different options or a plan in order to address that gap. The gap may include funding and perhaps leveraging resources from the federal government. It's possible that school districts will be able to close that gap on their own with resources and existing infrastructure that they have themselves. And it's possible that there may be a state solution that could be presented in order to close that gap. We won't know until we have the data, though, but that's why this bill is so important, is that we'll be able to present that data to you in order for you to make an informed decision about how to proceed.
I love a good data bill. Thank you. I really do appreciate where you're going with this. I just want to clarify that OSIT's report will include that data or those connectivity gaps discussion around the funding needs, or will that be in coordination with the different districts through the governor's office?
Brian Mitchell, for the record, to Assemblywoman Peters. What we anticipate doing is working in very close consultation with the individual school districts in order to come up with that plan. in order to meet the gaps. And certainly we wouldn't want to, from the governor's office perspective, we wouldn't want to propose something that that wouldn't make sense for the school districts. So I think what you'll see will be something that's very comprehensive and that is very well coordinated across the different levels of government across the state.
Thank you.
Assemblyman Wheeler?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Keating, beyond the survey itself or the paperwork that's filled out, is there any kind of like a follow-up through it? Having 3 kids, 7 grandkids, and a couple more that I call mine, I can just see some enterprising young person saying, nope, no internet at my house, can't do this homework, or it's very spotty, I can only do my homework every other day. So what is the follow-up beyond that?
Assemblyman Brad Keating for the record, Clark County School District. Yes, so what we have done over the past year is we've created our own call center, and through Connecting Kids Nevada has been incredible through the work of Elaine Wynn and Jim Murren and the governor's COVID-19 task force, which Brian has been so helpful on. We have processes in place so that when a student needs internet, we are able to fill out the initial paperwork, and then it goes over to the service provider to complete all of that paperwork. So in Clark County, for instance, Cox Communications has been a great partner where we have worked with them through an MOU process where we can do some of the paperwork and work with our families closely, and then it transfers to them for a final, flip of the switch to turn everything on.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Brown May.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Keating, for that really great presentation. First, I want to say, as a mom of a senior in high school, this last year has been very difficult for my family, and he's very independent. So for many families who have much younger children, we watch them go through some very difficult times. I know that the Clark County School District in particular has worked very hard to keep their students connected, and I want to congratulate you for the successful efforts in that way. Also knowing that we have a number of students that are still missing. And so you talked about 19,000 students that we were able to reach and 247,000 devices that were deployed. Is that, do you think, the true scope of the students? Have we contacted everybody? Are there still students that were missing? I guess is number one. And then we watched you very flexibly and creatively develop buses, mobile buses, where kids were able to access internet connectivity in areas where they could not otherwise, which was insightful at the time, and it was a Band-Aid to help us through this very difficult time, but it was a creative solution. I'm curious to know, are there other creative solutions that you have addressing those issues this current year, given that this data won't be ready to be able to address the issue long term?
Thank you, Assemblywoman, for the question. Brad Keating, representing Clark County School District for the record. I want to take a moment of personal privilege for just 1 second to first start by congratulating you on being a fantastic mother and helping your son get to this point in his academic career. We're incredibly proud of all of our students to not only get through this year, but on his impending graduation coming up. So congratulations on that. We have up to this point through the Connecting Kids initiative, and Brian could probably speak a little more to this on how we tracked all of our students. We were able to track over the last year each of our students that needed internet or a device through the work of a lot of you on this committee in the legislative building and walking door to door with flyers in Spanish and English trying to connect our students. We were able to reach every student in the Clark County School District and throughout the state to ensure that they did have a device and that they did have internet. So we've been able to solve that problem for the current year that we are in. That's why this bill is important moving forward, so we don't have the issue come up again. Talking about the mobile buses, so we decided to do a mobile Wi-Fi setup for some of the areas that don't receive high quality or fast internet access. That was a great project throughout the valley that we were able to put into a few different areas. There are a number of creative solutions, and I will we'll ask Mr. Mitchell again to jump in here, but we are looking at through the generous partnership between the state and local governments. The city of Las Vegas, for instance, right now, we are looking at the historic West Side in Las Vegas, and we are connecting internet to each one of the traffic poles throughout the historic West Side. So students will be able to take that, they'll be able to use their school district device and connect to the school district internet. So they will go through the school district system so that there will be some sites blocked, but they will also have opportunities to see all the programming that they need to operate in school. So we are doing a number of different unique initiatives to try to make sure internet is placed where it needs to be, and I would go to Mr. Mitchell if he has anything to add.
Brian Mitchell for the record, and thank you for the question. And I'll speak just briefly about that project with the City of Las Vegas, that it's truly an innovative project, and I think one that we hope will be able to extend beyond the historic West Side and the medical district in Las Vegas to other areas of high need, such as North Las Vegas. I know that the City of Las Vegas has reached out and is beginning a partnership with the City of North Las Vegas to extend that same program that will connect students for free to the school network through existing city-owned infrastructure. In other parts of the state, we're also pursuing a number of different avenues of deploying federal resources and state resources in order to broaden and increase our infrastructure in other places that will ensure that the families throughout the state have access to the internet. And just briefly on the first question about whether there are students that are still missing, each school district in the state has done its own process. Every school district was a bit different in terms of how they went about certifying that their students were connected, but we have been able to determine that every student in Nevada that was required to do distance learning had access to the connectivity and a device to facilitate that learning.
Thank you. Just one follow-up, gentlemen. I'm curious to know, I see the dates in the bill for when you are going to execute certain parts of this language. How quickly do you anticipate, given that this bill passes this legislative session, would you execute the initial study to pursue the data?
Brad Keating, for the record, Clark County School District, if we are ready to work session the bill and get it down to the floor and vote on it out of here, we will get working immediately. So the minute that this bill hopefully does pass through this committee in the House and signed by the governor, we will work closely with Mr. Mitchell at OSET so that we could have this survey done by the end of the summer. We gave ourselves to November just so that if there were issues that needed to be worked out or students came in after the beginning of the school year, that they had some time to do it. But we certainly will have the information for the upcoming school year by the time the school year starts.
Assemblywoman Summers Armstrong.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Keating, Mr. Mitchell, and Mr. Benavides for your presentation. And I just wanted to ask you all to give us a little clarity. Yesterday when we spoke, we talked about the meaning of lack of sufficient speeds. Just for the benefit of the committee, Mr. Mitchell, could you kind of, or Mr. Keating, if you would please expound upon that so that we are all clear what that means?
Brian Mitchell for the record, if you'd like, Mr. Keating, I can take that one.
Perfect.
Thank you for the question, Brian Mitchell for the record. At the state level, what we consider to be sufficient access, we follow the Federal Communications Commission's standard, which is 25 megabits per second download and 3 megabits per second upload. And so a family that has that connection, that level of connectivity in their home or greater could be considered served, and a family that either doesn't have internet access or has a lower bandwidth than that would be considered unserved. Having said that, I think there are many families where there are more than several children who are using the internet, and then often parents have been working at home due to the pandemic. And so there may be cases where that 25.3 does not, might get a little slow if everybody is on Zoom at the same time. And so I know that the Clark County School District has worked with those families to deploy additional hotspots or additional solutions in order to make sure that everybody is well connected.
Thank you. Madam Chair, may I follow up? Thank you. So when you are speaking of this innovative idea that you have about putting internet connectivity on traffic poles in the Historic West Side, which is my neighborhood, what is the range of those installed devices, and will that be able to handle multiple children on Zoom if there's more than one child, and how effective will that be if we are talking about a family of 2, 3, or 4 children who are all on the device, and say the traffic light is at J in Washington and the child lives at J and I don't know, Adams, will it reach that far, and is it going to be effective?
Thank you for the question, Brian Mitchell from OSIT for the record. From what I don't know the exact range in feet of each of the antennas that are being deployed throughout the city. What I do know is that a large number are being deployed, and that the city of Las Vegas is monitoring traffic on the network at each of the antennas, and if the traffic is sufficient that it begins to approach the maximum capacity, then they have committed to installing additional infrastructure in order to ensure that every student has connectivity speeds that meet the minimum requirements. And so I know that they've been very, they're working very hard to deploy sufficient infrastructure to ensure that kids have the right level of connectivity.
Madam Chair, just one more, please. Thank you. Are you all going to also continue the discounted internet program that we saw deployed with our local providers so that families could access some subsidized internet service? And could you just sort of, for the edification of the group, tell them how folks qualified, and also talk to them about some of the difficulties that showed up with families who might have had previous balances, and what you all did to help solve that problem? Thanks.
Brad Keating for the record. I will start, and I'll ask Mr. Mitchell to jump in as he worked closely with the providers across the valley. So we do have every intention as a school district to continue providing that service so that we could help assist our students and families for paying for internet. We have worked, I just wanted to mention to one thing previously, so we have a great partnership with Cox Communications through their program. When we talked about the minimum needs of the students and the internet, that the megawatts and megabits that are given, they currently offer double what the FCC definition is of high-speed internet. If we've run into issues where people have gone over or teachers have gone over, they've been incredibly helpful in reducing the fees or wiping fees for us. Mr. Mitchell, if you can just walk through the process of the free and reduced lunch rate, I believe it was an FRL rate.
Brian Mitchell for the record. Thank you for the question. A number of different providers, telecommunications providers throughout the state, offer discounted plans to families that meet certain criteria, such as eligibility for free and reduced lunch, or SNAP, or TANF, or a number of other different programs. And families can sign up for those programs. They're generally about $10 per month on their own. Now, specifically during the pandemic, the Clark County School District had an agreement with Cox Communications to provide internet through their Connect to Compete program. And that program was provided to families at no cost to the family. And I know a question has come up in the past about whether families had, if a family had a past due balance with Cox, would they still be able to get connectivity for their child to learn? And the answer was yes, that Cox, because the school district was subsidizing the cost of the internet, any past balance or any past history with the family, with the company was not taken into account, and they were able to get connectivity. Similar programs with different providers were also set up throughout the state. I also want to mention that through the T-Mobile Sprint merger settlement that the Attorney General negotiated, the state also receives a number of hotspots that the Clark County School District received an allocation from that pot, and other school districts as well. And they were able to deploy those to families in places where it made more sense to connect via hotspot as opposed to a wired connection. For example, there are many families in Las Vegas, as I know you know, that are home insecure and are transient, and so it made more sense to have a hotspot and a Chromebook that could travel with the student as opposed to providing something through Cox. And so there were a number of different solutions that were considered and deployed to make sure that every family had the connectivity that they needed to learn.
Members, any other questions? Well, Mr. Keaton, as one of the legislators among many members of this legislative body, put on our tennis shoes and walked to knock on doors and make sure that the children in our communities across the state had internet connection. I thank you for working with us. I appreciate that. I was looking at, although this is not the fiscal committee, I was looking at the fiscal note that was put on by the Department of Education in the bill as it was originally drafted. With the amendments that were made, has that been addressed? Will you be able to use the American Rescue dollars that you had on one of your one of the slides in your presentation? Will that offset that?
Madam Chair, Brad Keating for the record, representing Clark County School District. So with the amendment that we have made and brought forth to you all today, that fiscal note is no longer applicable. The fiscal note was placed on there by the Department of Education because the original intent was to create a commission to discuss this in collaboration with the school districts, OSIT, and the Department of Education. We decided it was best to cut out the middle person as a commission, and let's just get right to the heart of the data, figure that out, and then make the recommendations and move quickly.
Perfect. And then along the lines of the question from Assemblywoman Brown May and Assemblywoman Summers Armstrong, you said that the connections will be put on light poles on the west side, and I'm sure it won't be every light pole. But how will you be able to determine exactly where to place those and when to add more? Because I believe it was said that more would be added if the need arises, and what will be the trigger for that need?
Yeah. Brad Keating for the record, representing CCSD. The partnership with the City of Las Vegas, the state, and the school district has been an incredible one. to see that in action. We're working closely with them and other jurisdictions currently to map out the valley and work with some of our partners like Cox Communications and the different providers to figure out where there might be gaps throughout the Southern Nevada area and throughout the state, actually, to determine where we need to place those first. So we are working through that. The beauty of the situation with this partnership, and Mr. Mitchell discussed it a little bit, is students will use a school district issued Chromebook. There will be the kind of key, as you'll say, inside the Chromebook that will automatically connect to that light pole so that the internet is accessible to them at all times. So we are working with them right now. It is a pilot currently, probably for about another 6 months, and then they are ready to continue expanding and opening up from there.
And then my last question, I too have grandchildren in the Clark County School District who have Chromebooks. We also know that Las Vegas is a transitory town. And as students move, will they be able to take the Chromebook that they received at their first school to their new school and be able to access those mobile sites?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brad Keating for the record. Yes, students will be able to move devices from one spot to the next. The only stipulation being, I guess we quote, have to get it off one book, from one book to the next books of the schools, but they will be able to move them and take the devices with them so that there's no gap in the instructional time.
Well, thank you. I am not seeing any other committee members with questions, so I will thank you for the presentation. And then at this time, we will move to testimony in support of Senate Bill 66. And I believe we have Mr. Keith in the room to present testimony. Welcome.
Right. Good afternoon, members of the committee and chair. Thank you so much. My name is Dylan Keith, for the record, policy analyst with the Vegas Chamber, and we are in support of SB 66. The pandemic further exposed the severity of the digital divide, especially to our most vulnerable students. That's why during the pandemic, the Chamber was active in raising funds to make sure that we could get Chromebooks in the hands of students. And we'd also like to thank our own members in the private sector who made sure that there was affordable options for students to have internet access, and to all of you who went out to the communities to actually make sure that students were getting the access that they needed. Many attributes of education are continuing to move online, and it's important that we are proactive right now to make sure that students are not falling behind and they're able to access all of the learning materials that they need on whatever platform is available to them. And it's for that reason we are urging your support on SB 66. And Chair and members, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Ms. Pearson? Yes, welcome.
Good afternoon, Committee Chair Monroe Moreno and committee members. My name is Dr. Brenda Pearson, and I'm here representing the Clark County Education Association. CCEA is testifying in support on Senate Bill 66, and thanks the Clark County School District for bringing this important bill forth. Nevada has made progress towards remote learning when a device was placed in every student's hands, but the digital divide continues to plague our schools. Closure of the digital divide includes both access to devices and reliable internet access, requiring the Office of Science, Innovation, and Technology to develop a statewide system to detail the extent of the digital divide and produce a fiscal plan to close the gaps will move Nevada towards access and equity in education. Senate Bill 66 will help Nevada to understand the breadth of the digital divide, but we still need to understand the depth of the problem. CCA fully supports investing in internet and telecommunications technology for students, but we would be remiss if we did not mention that equitable access moves beyond digital distance learning into our education delivery system. Within Nevada schools, classrooms full of students struggle with connectivity to the internet. Now, even more than ever, our public school classrooms need to have updated internet technology to support student learning. Historical underfunding of our school system has highlighted the inequities of our schools, and we must ensure equitable access to education for all Nevada students, whether they are at home or at school. CCA appreciates the efforts of this committee and the Clark County School District for this bill. We will look forward to doing all we can to supporting Connecting Nevada. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else here in the room who wishes to provide testimony in support, I will ask our broadcast staff if we have anyone on Zoom or by telephone who wishes to testify in support of Senate Bill 66.
To testify in support of Senate Bill 66, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 411. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 3 minutes and may begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, this is Lindsay Anderson, LINDSAYANDERSON, on behalf of the Washoe County School District. We are here in support of SB 66 and the work being done to address connectivity for our students. We know a portion of our families will continue to choose full distance learning going forward, and ensuring their continued ability to access a full public school experience is critically important. The partnership with the Office of Science, Innovation, and Technology has been critical, and we basically consider them a member of our team at this point. We look forward to continuing our work from the past year as we see permanent distance learning options unfolding going forward. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next caller.
Caller with the last 3 digits of 462. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 3 minutes and may begin.
Good afternoon, Chair Monroe Moreno, Vice Chair Watts, and committee members. For the record, my name is Joshua Levitt, and that's spelled JOSHUALEAVITT, and I'm representing the Society for Information Management Las Vegas chapter in support for SB 66. SIP Las Vegas is an organization comprised of CIOs, industry leaders, educators, and entrepreneurs throughout Southern Nevada. In addition to bringing an exchange of ideas, we strive to provide advocacy for important issues and bring a wide range of strategic forecasting and technology expertise to serve the state of Nevada. In this internet age, Nevada students need the connectivity and devices to access the abundance of educational resources for them to compete in a global society, which is why we support the plan to prescribe OSIT to gather data and coordinate the implementation of telecommunications services for our Nevada students. Furthermore, we appreciate the approach to data-driven decision-making and providing a vetted list of telecommunication technology recommendations to better support students' needs. We feel it's prudent that OSIT will collect valuable data in order to produce a gap analysis on student home connectivity. This should be a great opportunity for the state of Nevada to apply for federal funding to expand telecommunication services with the goal to enhance educational opportunities for our schools. I appreciate the opportunity to testify in support for SB 66. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Next caller.
Caller with the last 3 digits of 485. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 3 minutes and may begin.
Thank you. Craig Stevens, CRAIG-STEVENS, representing Cox Communications. And thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Cox is in full support of SB 66 and appreciate the hard work done by both the sponsor and the governor's office. SB 66 will give the state of Nevada tools it needs to help connect every student to the internet. The pandemic has shown a great need in helping to identify those families who currently are unable to bridge the digital divide. Through a strong public-private partnership, we believe SB 66 will help support the ongoing effort in connecting every student no matter where they live. Throughout the pandemic, the current effort saw the connection of over 15,000 students by Cox Communications in Clark County alone through our Connect to Compete program. Our Connect to Compete program provided high-speed internet at little to no cost to families with speeds well above the FCC definition of what's considered high-speed internet. Every family who was connected was not subject to a credit check, received all equipment at no charge, and Cox even created a personalized service to help families set up their own service. Again, all of this was done at no cost to these families, thanks to the great work by the governor's office, CCSD, and the foresight of this legislature during this summer special session. With your support, SB 66 will continue to build upon the current foundation we have put in place. Cox hopes to continue this partnership well beyond the current school year. Connect and Compete has existed for over a decade, and the program is not going away. With the passage of SB 66, this will further enable all providers to reach out to our students in need and create equity when it comes to our technology challenges. I'm happy to answer any questions y'all may have.
Thank you so much. Next caller.
Caller with the last three digits of 692. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Mary Przynski, MaryPierczynski, here in support of Senate Bill 66. We'd like to thank Dr. Keating with the Clark County School District and Mr. Mitchell from OSIT for all their work on this bill. Connectivity is a problem throughout our state, in our urban areas, but also in our remote rural areas. Internet access is critical for our students, and so we're in full support and thank everyone for all the work they've done on this bill. We hope that your committee will support it as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Caller with the last three digits of 653. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Dora Martinez. I'm here representing Nevada Disability Peer Action Coalition. I just want to ditto the prior callers and thank you for the effort. So I just want to recommend and hope it can be put in the survey questionnaire that, because I took a similar survey regarding the assistive technology for the Washoe County School District. And one of the questions that was not on there that I didn't hear, because I am blind and I use my laptop to hear the survey and fill them out, is that they should have, one of the questions was do you have a child who has IEP? That's very good. But one of them should say if a parent has a disability and what type. Because as a blind parent, my kids are all doing very well. They're not disabled. They're in the GT program and all that. But it was very hard to get a laptop from the district and be able to download a software that's called Non-Visual Desktop Accessible. It's a talking free software for people who are blind to be able to use so I can keep track on my kids' homework. So maybe we could talk offline. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us and thank you for the suggestion. I know the sponsor of the bill was listening. I believe that was our last caller in support. Am I correct?
Yes, Chair, that was our last caller in support.
Thank you so much. Do we have anyone on the line who wishes to provide testimony in opposition?
Provide testimony in opposition of Senate Bill 66. Please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers in opposition.
Thank you. Do we have any callers who would like to make a neutral testimony?
To testify in the neutral position on Senate Bill 66, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers in neutral.
Thank you so much. Mr. Keating, do you have any final remarks you'd like to leave with our committee?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Brad Keating for the record. I just want to take a moment to thank each of you for meeting with us over the last few days and for hearing the bill today. In response to the question that was asked related to the Disability Coalition, We will work with Mr. Mitchell to see that if this bill passes, that we include questions related to that already through the registration process. We receive a lot of that information, but we will make sure we align and that that is taken care of through the survey process. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And with that, we will close the hearing on Senate Bill 66, and we will open the hearing on Senate Bill 60. I believe our presenters are joining us virtually from the Department of Motor Vehicles. There we go.
All right.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Roman Moreno and committee members. This is Sean Sever from the DMV. Thank you for letting us present SB 60 to you today. And this is a housekeeping bill, mainly on license plates and several things we think could help improve our processes here at the DMV. So number one in this bill, special plates recommended or approved in prior sessions didn't have consistent guidelines for design, development, specifications, and status changes. This bill would provide consistency for all proposed special plates. Number two, the DMV works with government agencies that need license plates that are similar to general issue plates for safety and security purposes. So this bill would clarify the plates issued to specify specific agency vehicles are not transferable and not subject to reissue requirements in NRS 482.265. Number three, vehicles purchased from someone other than a Nevada auto dealer must purchase a temporary permit from the DMV prior to moving the vehicle. This creates a hardship when the transaction is done outside of DMV hours. This bill would allow a person to move a vehicle for a period of 3 days, which will allow the customer time to obtain registration or a movement permit from the DMV. And then number four, changes made in the prior session for distribution of funds for first-time issuance of a license plate exempted from emission standards in AB 63 included language that increased the complexity of the distribution of these funds by including plate and renewal fees. This bill would reverse changes made in AB 63, and the DMV will work with LCV staff to adopt regulations to ensure proper accounting and distribution of these funds. So we appreciate you considering our request, and I have several people in the room with me that can help answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any questions on Senate Bill 60? Assemblyman Wheeler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Seaver, could you tell me what the procedure is for like a personalized specialty license plate? Someone wants their name or something on there, since this says the alphanumeric protocol.
Sure. Just this is Sean Sever from the DMV. I'm going to have April Sanborn answer that question for me.
Good afternoon, April Sanborn, Administrator for the Department of Motor Vehicles. Thank you for the question, Assemblyman Wheeler. So this particular cleanup process will not have any impact or bearing on our specialty license plate, our personalized license plate program. So an individual would simply order a personalized license plate in the same manner that they would today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think you guys are going to get off easy today. That is the only question from members. So with that, we will go to support. I believe we have Mr. McKay here in the committee room to testify in support.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, nice to see y'all. Get back to some semblance order briefly. I'm Andrew McKay, Executive Director of the Nevada Franchised Auto Dealers Association, and we're here in support of Senate Bill 60. I'd be remiss if I didn't give a little shout out to Mr. Seaver and his team over at DMV. Over the past couple of years, is the committee is probably aware of, they've done yeoman's work not only modifying but improving their processes as we go to a more digitized system. Specifically with respect to this bill, I want to talk very briefly about Section 19.5. Section 19.5 is a very basic amendment that extends the validity of the time frame of a driveway permit to an out-of-state buyer from 15 days to 30 days. The basis for this change is really simple. The internet and remote buying has grown substantially in recent years, to the point that anywhere between just about 10 to 20% of all sales are to out-of-state buyers. With COVID, as the committee is more than aware of, nobody has been untouched. So being able to ultimately retitle and register a vehicle for an out-of-state buyer, when they take that car, he or she, to their respective state, when they drive it off a lot in Nevada, oftentimes they run out of time. And it's a huge inconvenience for the consumer. So what this is going to do is enable them to have a little more time to be able to register that vehicle. And not to get into the weeds, but you all have seen the news with respect to the microprocessor shortage in the automotive industry. It is creating a major pinch from an inventory standpoint, and what that is resulting is you're seeing buyers from literally all over the country are flying into Las Vegas and Reno because they have a vehicle that this is the only location they can get. And so what's happening is they're then buying and they're driving a car up to 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 miles away. And by the time they take a few days for themselves, they run out of time. So this just trues it up, and we'd encourage the committee's support of this bill. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much for your testimony. I'm not seeing anyone else here in the room with us who would like to provide testimony and support, so we will go to our telephone lines and Zoom. Do we have anyone in the queue wishing to provide testimony and support?
To testify in support of Senate Bill 60, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers in support of Senate Bill 60.
Thank you so much. Do we have any callers on the line who would like to provide testimony in opposition?
To testify in opposition of Senate Bill 60, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers in opposition.
Thank you. Do we have any callers who wish to provide testimony in the neutral position?
To testify in the neutral position on Senate Bill 60, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers in neutral.
Thank you so much. Mr. Seaver, you get off easy today. Do you have any closing remarks you'd like for the committee?
Sean Sever from the DMV. Thank you, Chair. No, just thank you to everybody for your time. And I also wanted to thank Mr. McKay for his comments and let everyone know that we're okay with the amendment you proposed. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we will close the hearing on Senate Bill 60, and we will open the hearing on our final bill for today, which is Senate Bill 371. And again, our presenters will be joining us virtually from the DMV.
Chair, this is Sean Sever from the DMV. I forgot my notes. Can I go grab them real quick? Oh,
you sure may.
Never mind. I just got them. Thanks, Molly. Okay. Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. Sean Sever again from the DMV for the record. Thank you for letting us present SB 371 to you today. This is a revision to the provisions governing the mileage pilot program that the DMV is required to conduct to gather mileage data relating to certain Nevada motor vehicles, including body type, fuel, and weight. These changes could improve the reporting and collection of odometer readings, and this bill puts those suggestions forward. The DMV collects and reports odometer readings for recreational vehicles for the mileage gathering pilot. This bill would exempt recreational vehicles from reporting their odometer readings, which would simplify compiling the report and paint a better picture of the general population's mileage per year, since RVs do not represent normal driving habits or high use of alternative fuels. The DMV also provides vehicle information reports to the insurance industry, including odometer readings. This bill would allow the DMV to exclude odometer readings from the vehicle information reports to avoid misuse of data, which could impact customer insurance premiums. For example, if I drive 20,000 miles a year, my insurance company might charge me a higher rate than someone who drives 10,000 miles a year. And then there are no administrative penalties built in for failure to report the odometer readings at registration. This bill would give the DMV the option to apply administrative fines to improve customer compliance and mileage data collection. So we appreciate your consideration of this bill. And I have Molly Lennon, who is a DMV manager in charge of this program, with me to help answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe we have a few questions. We will start the questioning off with Assemblyman Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the presentation today. It seems like a simple bill. Of course, it's famous last words. So I noticed on section 2.6, right, you talk about disclosing information to insurers. And have you had insurers try to get that information from you?
Sure, this is Sean Sever from the DMV. I'm going to have Molly Lennon answer that question for me.
Thank you, Assemblyman. Molly Lennon, for the record, with the Department of Motor Vehicles. We have had anecdotal reports of insurance company raising premiums based on entries of odometer readings on the reports that they receive standard from the DMV. So although we don't have any specific reports, we're trying to mitigate in suggesting that we look at this bill and move forward with not providing this information to insurance companies.
Follow-up, Madam Chair. So if you're not providing reports, how are they getting the mileage from the DMV? Just curious.
We do actually provide reports. I'm sorry, Molly Lennon, for the record. We do provide reports. They are a standard reports that we provide to different industry partners, specifically insurance companies and other industry partners receive vehicle information, including the odometer readings. Prior to the mileage gathering pilot, there were only reports on odometer readings for certain instances like classic plates for those vehicles which are required to report and keep their mileage under a certain limit. But when we began gathering mileage data for this pilot, there was more information. And again, we've just had anecdotal information regarding insurance companies utilizing that additional information, but they do receive report on it.
Okay, thank you very much. And so those reports will stop as a result of this bill, correct?
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for that clarification. Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. So my question is on, I guess it's page 8 of the bill, right at the end of section 2, it talks about adopting regulations providing for an administrative fine for failure to comply with the requirements. And I understand there would be regulations adopted, but can you shed any light sitting here today on how you might intend to administer that fine? Would it be something that would be included on the invoice that goes to the customer? I'm just trying to get a sense of how that might actually work if someone fails to comply with the odometer reading requirement.
Thank you for the question, Assemblyman. Molly Lennon, for the record, with the Department of Motor Vehicles. The department has not put a plan in place for collecting an administrative fine. Again, this is a mitigation effort. in order to, moving forward, collect the best data possible. We do have statistics on non-reporting. Right now, we're at about a 31.93% non-reporting rate for those vehicles that are reporting odometer readings. So again, the department has not put a plan in place for how we would collect those administrative fines or an amount. But again, it's just for purposes of mitigation so that we do have the ability to do so if the need arose throughout the pilot.
Thank you for that, and thank you for the follow-up, Madam Chair. And, you know, obviously, any regulations would go through Legislative Commission, would have to be approved, so we have that safeguard. But I guess not really a question, but more of just a statement I wanted to make of concern that, you know, I think the legislature has been trying really hard to make sure people's driver's licenses don't get suspended for things not related to their driving behavior. So I would just ask in that administrative process if you could keep that in mind. What I don't want to see is people failing to disclose and some kind of administrative fine turns into a driver's license suspension. I think that would probably go contrary to what we've been trying to do in the legislature, but obviously realize this has a long way to go. The bill hasn't passed yet. The regulations haven't been promulgated or approved, but just wanted to put that out there as a potential concern.
Thank you. And just a quick question. Did I hear you say that you have 30% compliance currently?
Molly Lennon for the record with the Department of Motor Vehicles. We actually have 31.93% non-compliance.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that clarification. I believe our next question is from Assemblyman Ellison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know if Sean or you can answer this. 31.3, but when they go to get their plates renewed, don't they automatically have to supply that information? It seemed like that, I mean, we have 15 vehicles and we have to make sure every one of them is got the actual numbers on when we re-register them online or offline, or if not, you can't register them.
Molly Lennon for the record, Department of Motor Vehicles. You are correct. We do request odometer readings at every registration and registration renewal for vehicles that are not exempt from the pilot. However, we did have to build in validations for situations where an odometer was broken or an odometer gave us a negative reading. Because there were no requirements built in with this bill for penalty for reporting, and it is a self-reporting pilot, oftentimes these exceptions that fall on the report would be, you know, showing us a negative reading or showing us, you know, a 100,000 difference, which could be a rollover odometer. So although you have to report at each registration, there is a list of exceptions that we've outlined in the mileage gathering report. Hopefully that answers your question. Let me know if you need clarification.
Follow up, ma'am? Go ahead. And then the other thing is, when you guys do the study, you know, Nevada is such a different, every county is totally different. Like Elko, if you're going to go large shopping, you either go to Twin Falls or Salt Lake or Reno. I mean, you travel that distance. And I do about 800 miles a week during session. So, I mean, how are they going to calculate that because of the rural areas versus, you know, the cities?
Molly Lennon for the record with the Department of Motor Vehicles. One thing that we built into the report is a list of footnotes that references those sorts of anomalies so that those who use this data are aware that there are instances where driving the mileage that shows may be outside of the standard average driving. You're looking at also vehicles that may be sold within 6 months and may have 2 readings. So the example that you give, along with many other scenarios, are outlined in our footnotes to make sure that people are aware. If we use this information to calculate an average, we have to be aware that there will be differences amongst rural areas versus the metro areas. We also provided a supplemental report so that a breakdown can be seen of those that are reporting in rural counties and what those miles look like compared to the metro counties.
Yeah, and then my final question is the classic autos that we have to maintain, you know, with our insurance companies, that we can only do so many miles a year, whatever, because they only use for parades or whatever. I think that's a good idea that you give that to the insurance companies, and that way we don't have to go back and forth with the insurance companies. So as we reported, I think that's a good idea to give it to the insurance companies.
Molly Lennon, for the record, with the Department of Motor Vehicles. Thank you for the input. At this point, the classic vehicle plates, we haven't considered in the amount of data that we've been looking at for the mileage gathering. And because the pilot is temporary, we did not address the classic plates. So we'll look at that further and be prepared to answer any other questions offline.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And I believe earlier in your presentation, you said the classic vehicles, those mileages were given to the insurance companies even prior to the pilot program, correct? Or did I?
Molly Lennon, for the record. You are correct, Chair, that they were previously receiving any odometer readings that were collected, and the majority of those came from classic plate, classic rod plates, any that fell in that category.
And with the changes, this piece of legislation is passed, that would not change. The classic vehicle mileage would still be given to the insurance company, just not the other vehicles that inadvertently the mileage was given out with the passage of the bill, pilot program bill last session.
Molly Lennon, for the record, Department of Motor Vehicles. Unfortunately, we would not be able to delineate between the classic vehicle odometer reporting and the mileage gathering reporting. So if this bill were to be passed, it would strike out the odometer readings, period, during the pilot.
That's problematic for me. Assemblyman Watts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick follow-up on this. So could you just give us a little bit more background on this? So trying to keep up. So this odometer readings were gathered and reported prior to the enactment of the pilot program. And then we've got these anecdotal reports of the additional odometer information being reported and used by insurance companies. So we're trying to address that. And then it seemed like you had just indicated in a prior response that we did not include the classic odometer information within the pilot program. So how is it that the department can't separate that information out?
Molly Lennon, for the record, with the Department of Motor Vehicles. I can offer some clarification there. We did include the odometer readings reported for classic plates in the mileage gathering pilot. However, if we strike the odometer readings from the reports received by insurance company and other insurance companies, then they would not receive the classic odometer readings or the full mileage gathering odometer readings. But just for clarification, all odometer collections are included in the mileage gathering pilot. It would require programming in order to delineate for removal of the reports.
Thank you for that. It seems like something that we need to have some additional follow-up conversations on, both in terms of the programming needs or capabilities related to this, as well as if the proposed statutory changes here need to be further delineated to draw a distinction between these categories of information. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And then I just have one last question. In Section 2, you removed recreational vehicles from the list. Could you just explain to the committee why they were removed?
All right, Molly Lennon, for the record, with the Department of Motor Vehicles. The mileage gathering pilot, from our understanding, is to paint a picture of the average mileage driving habits of Nevadans. Recreational vehicles are seasonal vehicles, and as was pointed out earlier, at some points in the year may be driven 50,000 miles and then not driven for another 6 months. So it is anticipated that they will skew the data if used for averages. So the suggestion was made just for further clarity of the information we're providing on the report, that the recreational vehicles be removed from the pilot program and be exempted from reporting.
Thank you so much for that clarification. I appreciate it. Members, any other questions? Seeing none, I thank you for the presentation, and I will move to testimony in support. I am not seeing anyone here in the audience who's testifying in support. Do we have anyone joining us by Zoom or telephone who wish to provide testimony in support of Senate Bill 371?
Testify in support of Senate Bill 371. Please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers in support.
Thank you so much. Do we have anyone on the line or on Zoom who would like to provide testimony in opposition?
Testify in opposition of Senate Bill 371. Please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no caller in opposition.
Thank you, and I believe we have one person joining us here in the committee room who would like to provide a neutral testimony. We'll start with Mr. Kane.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Connor Kane. I'm testifying in neutral on Senate Bill 371 on behalf of Copart, which is a vehicle reseller. Just here to thank the sponsor and also Mr. Sever with DMV and to recognize the very talented and meticulous folks in legal drafting for making sure the language in subsection 6 of section 2 conforms with existing language in NRS. We wanted to make sure that any potential ambiguity there didn't impact our ability to hopefully work in the future with the DMV to process salvage titles. Here to answer any questions that you might have, and again, thank Mr. Sever and his team.
Thank you so much. I'm not seeing any questions. So, Assemblyman Ellison.
Yeah, have the salvage titles, have you guys went over this? I sent you a copy the other day, Sean, on the salvage titles that these outfit that market or they auction off vehicles, and the titles automatically come back salvage versus a clean title. Have you guys figured that out yet?
Sean Sever from the DMV. We are still researching that, John, and I'll get back to you very soon.
Okay, because if I'm having it, everybody's having the same problem. So, good, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kane. Apparently the question was not for you. We appreciate you waiting. Do we have anyone on Zoom or on phone who would like to provide a neutral testimony on Senate Bill 371?
Testify in the neutral position on Senate Bill 371. Please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no one in neutral.
Thank you so much. Do you have any final remarks for the committee concerning Senate Bill 371?
Sean Sever from the DMV. Just wanted to thank you for your time, and also point out this is Molly Lennon's second time in testifying to the legislature, and I think she did a pretty good job. So thank you for your time.
She did a great job. Thank you. And thank you for joining us here today. Members, that brings us to the very last item on our agenda for today, and that is public comment. I will ask our broadcast staff, do we have anyone wishing to provide public comment? And remember that your comments need to be in line with the interest of this committee. However, no testimony on any of the bills that were presented today. We are past testimony phase.
To offer public comment, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 490. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
My name is Cyrus Hojati, Cyrus Hojjati. Thank you for having me here. A lot of these problems and bills has to do with our car culture, and I want to really talk about how our cities are heavily designed to encourage car use and discourages pedestrian and transit use. I watched a lot of videos on how Amsterdam plans their cities, and I think there's a lot of things that we can certainly learn from it. And there's a lot of things we can learn from the old-fashioned cities. If you look at the downtown core of Las Vegas or across the street where you are, the historic core of Carson City. The fact is that our system is very problematic. We pay one of the highest car insurance rates in the nation. The system that allows a lot of traffic to feed in these high-capacity arterial roads, which are very dangerous and dysfunctional, like the Saharas, the Rainbows, the Craigs, etc., the cul-de-sacs, the large-scale single-use zoning that separates everything. The system is very costly for our private and public budget. It's surprisingly and disgustingly, however, that despite the fact that Las Vegas is one of the most car-dependent societies on earth, it's the 5th densest urban area in the country, just behind New York City, and more dense than Chicago and Boston. Yet those folks, on average, take transit and walk a lot more than we do. And now what we want to preserve is the high rate of single-family home
30
ownership.
seconds.
What we don't want is the fact that we have all this car dependency, and those areas certainly have different types of transportation. I think we should also take advantages of roundabouts. They're a lot more effective. And why are we among the most densest area? Because the homes are all close together, but yet we rely on automobile use a lot more. The cul-de-sacs are
We
not
thank you so much for
helping
joining us
our
again today, Mr. Hojati. Thank you so much. If you have anything else you'd like to add to your testimony, I encourage you to send that to the committee in writing. Do we have anyone else who would like to provide public comments?
Chair, the public comment line is open and working. However, we have no further callers.
Thank you so much. Our next meeting for the Assembly Committee on Growth and Infrastructure will be on Thursday, April 29th at 1:30 here in this room and virtually for those who are not able to travel to Carson City to join us in person. We will be hearing 2 bills and have a work session on Thursday. And members, with that, this meeting is adjourned.